The following show is brought to you by the CANUCKLEHEADS Broadcasting Company, eh? All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the CANUCKLEHEADS Show. My name is Frankie, and I am from the New West Reset channel.
And I'm Chris over at Old World Exploration.
So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here for, what are we at, Chris? Episode
19, I think.
19
of
the CANUCKLEHEADS Show. Wow, time flies when you're poking holes in the narrative.
A couple years running, and now that we're both rich and famous, I mean, we were just griping off air about how little exposure we seem to be getting on YouTube. So, yeah,
the usual YouTube content creator behind the scenes boo-hooing.
Yeah, well, if you guys knew about this and got the bell notification, well, you're lucky, I guess.
Yes. So for those of you who have been notified and set aside the time to jump in, thank you very much for being here. Good to see all of you. Mm-hmm. Today is Monday, April 13th, and we're going to be looking at Fredericton, New Brunswick. We're headed back to the east coast of Canada land, this one, buddy.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was a bigger city than it is, actually. I didn't realize. You know, you learn all the capital. It's capital, right? The capital of New Brunswick?
It is the capital, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it St. John? No, it's
Fredericton. I remember growing up, and you always assume capital cities, are a couple 100,000 at least. But no, not very big.
As a kid, I always grew up thinking, well, it's the capital city because it's the biggest and the most prosperous. It's the best of the cities in that province or state, if it's an American thing or whatever, right? But yeah, I think St. John is larger.
Yeah, I think for sure, yeah.
So not to be confused with St. John's.
Well, yeah, which we covered. We did cover St. John's.
We covered St. John's, Newfoundland.
That's right.
We've covered Halifax, Nova Scotia there, bud.
Yeah.
But we have not poked around in New Brunswick yet, which is considered a maritime province, even though it's not an island. It's connected to the mainland.
Yeah, and it's like fairly heavily French. Is that where the Acadians come from?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. What everybody knows as Cajuns were Acadians, basically, which were French maritime, French Canadians. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever hear the Acadian Driftwood song by the band?
Yes.
Such a good tune. Such a good tune. I highly recommend.
Love the band.
Yeah, the band were fantastic.
Yeah, good Canadian band.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Levon Helm, who's from, I believe, Arkansas. God rest his soul.
Yeah. Great music.
Yeah, Robbie Robertson was in the band, and he's from Manitoba, I believe, there, bud.
Yeah. That's kind of how I learned about the whole Acadian story, through that song, the Acadian Driftwood song. I'm thinking about it now. That's why I mentioned it.
Maybe everybody in the chat should check it out. And
I think so.
The band Canadian Driftwood. That's from the album. I can't even remember the name of the album.
I can't remember either. It's been a while. I know that they were Bob Dylan's backing band, and that's kind of how they
got their start.
Yeah,
that's right. Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
that's right, Bob Dylan. Not a fan of Bob Dylan. Big fan of the band. Figure that one out. Speaking of recommending everybody in the chat, what do you say we say a quick hello to everybody in the chat? And then I'll pull up the goggle machine and we'll look on Google Maps and show everybody where exactly we're going to be heading to this evening. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan.
Hello, Kathy. Kathy Broughton in the box. Hippie Shake is here. Hi, Hippie. How you doing? Water the Tree. That's Ross. Hello, Ross. Good to see you. Wood and Chrome here as well. Old World Timmy. Didn't get notified, but had a timer on the phone.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Good lad. Good on you, bud. Thank you.
Thank you.
He says he's listening in from the grindhouse. Thank you. Thanks, bud. Heidi's patch notes. Good to see you, Heidi. Hello. Corky Goss is here. You'll have to excuse me because YouTube now has just gone full on with we're just going to use your handle instead of your name. For a while there, whatever your username was on YouTube would show up, right?
Yeah.
So like Kathy's name is Kathy Broughton, for example. But now it's if you have an account or a channel or whatever, now they put that up. There's Rain Cloud. Recognize Rain Cloud. Hello. Good to see you. Hello, Ryan. Arches and Columns is here as well. Whiskey Pete. Hello, Pete. So, as mentioned, we're going to be looking at Fredericton, New Brunswick. Have you ever been to Fredericton?
No way, man. That's how far that is.
Sorry. Woo.
Alberta is like, I don't get much further east than Alberta out here in BC. Like, you got to go halfway across the spinning globe to get there.
That's right. I don't know exactly why you got so
and that was not a knock on
that.
It wasn't a knock on Fredericton. I don't want people to misunderstand. It's just it's a ways to go. You'd have to, yeah.
Yeah, we don't need a whole city mad at us.
No, that wasn't the intention.
Hey, take off.
Let me pull it up real quick and we can let everybody know. Heck, I barely remember where Fredericton is.
Have you been there?
You know what? I've never actually been to New Brunswick, which is odd because I'm originally from Montreal, Quebec.
Yep.
And it's a hop, skip, and a jump, really. You can even shortcut through Maine if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
But with that, and it's very, Montreal is obviously in Quebec, and Quebec is super Frenchy land here in Canada. And New Brunswick is very French as well. But yeah, I've never been there. I've been to Maine and Vermont, so in that area. I have been to Nova Scotia. I've been to Labrador, but not Newfoundland. So I've never been to PEI or New Brunswick. And I really don't know why, to be honest with you. But here's where we're looking at. So yeah, on the east coast there, bud, on the Atlantic coast. And there she is right there. So you've got Maine here.
Yeah, look how Maine stretches Quebec right here. Up there. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you've got Vermont and New Hampshire here, and there's Maine. This border has kind of moved up and down, back and forth lots of times. So we're told over the last 300 years, skirmishes between British North America and the newly formed U.S. In fact, at one point, I think almost all of Maine belonged to us Canadians, because they got a lot of maple trees there, and we need that good maple syrup.
Yeah,
we're hoarding it. We're like Arabs with oil with that stuff. If you catch what I'm saying. So that's where we're going to be looking at. And have you looked into a little bit about what's going on over there in their past and their history in Fredericton, or even just in New Brunswick in general?
You know what? No, I was hoping to rely on you for a bit of a history lesson.
It's a little wacky there, bud.
Yeah.
So normally what we do, if you're new to the show here, first of all, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. And it's Monday, so hope you had a great weekend. Generally speaking, it's probably Monday for most of you.
Yeah.
But normally we get into the official his story, the official narrative of the area that we're covering. And we take a little mid-show break. I usually find an old video that gives us a nice little intermission. People can run and grab a snack or go to the washroom, or in my case, have a filthy cigarette. Chris, you're not smoking anymore still, are you?
No, I'm on the nicotine pods or whatever we want to call them.
Nice, good on you, bud. It's
been a few
months now. Good for you. It's better than inhaling the smoke from a burning stick.
Yeah, my kids like the fact that I don't smoke anymore. So that's,
see, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then when we come back after the break, then Chris is going to knock it out of the park for us with some beautiful photos. That's usually how the thing runs around here. So again, welcome and thank you. And let me just pull up I just like to just pull up the Wikipedia, because it tends to be where everybody else, any other article online where you find about the official history of a place, they tend to just kind of copy and paste or clip certain sections from Wikipedia anyway.
Yeah.
I find that most people, when they want to find out about something and they're going to just Google it real quick, Wikipedia tends to be one of the first things that pops up. And that's what most normies tend to default to. So it's nice to kind of see what, John and Jane Q Public are being spoon-fed when it comes to stuff, Broski Bear asking, are you both Canadian? Oh, for sure there, bud.
You betcha.
You know
Alberta,
it, eh?
Alberta and British Columbia.
Yeah, that's right. Chris is over in BC, and I'm just on the other side of the mountains and now in Purdy, Alberta.
Although independence seems to be coming your way there, Frankie.
Who knows? We might be independent. We might end up joining the good old US of A. We'll see what happens.
We'll see
what happens. I know a lot of our American neighbors feel pretty bad for Alberta. They see what's going on in Alberta, and then they watched. I don't know if you watched any of the footage or even the memes regarding the footage for the Liberal Party.
Oh, did I ever?
Thing going on, point of privilege, with everybody waving their little colored little pieces of paper, pink and purple and yellow and whatever. It was so.
Well, that was the NDP. Yeah, the NDP one.
Yeah, sorry, the NDP.
Oh, yeah.
It might as well be. It's all the same.
Liberal one was a little darker. I would say the recent Liberal one. It was, I don't know, red background. It's a little bit scary what's going on there. Basically, Uniparty is coming out into the open here in Canada, it seems like.
Yeah, it's a slippery around here.
Yeah.
And we're long, so it makes it extra slippery.
You got to wear your spikes on your shoes if you want to navigate.
Well, you know it there, eh? You got her, bud.
Yeah.
So Fredericton, or in French, Fredericton, is the capital city of the Canadian province of New Brunswick. The city is situated on the west central portion of the province along the St. John River, also known by its indigenous name of Wolastoq, which flows west to east, as bisects the city. The river is the dominant natural feature of the area, except for, of course, just that tiny thing called the Atlantic Ocean, but that's fine.
Yeah.
One of the main urban centers in New Brunswick as of 2026, according to the city's update on building development, is a population of approximately, that is small, 79,000.
Yeah.
Even by Canadian standards, even by maritime standards.
It's smaller than my city up here in northern British Columbia. Yeah.
In fact, there's a small city where my parents live north of Calgary here called Airdrie. It's a 20-minute, half-hour drive north on the number 2 highway from Calgary, in that Calgary to Edmonton corridor, north-south corridor.
Mm-hmm.
When we moved there in 1980 from Montreal, there was 4,000 people there. There's now 82,000 people in this little, what used to be a podunk town they hadn't even paved the roads yet when we moved there.
Yeah.
So bigger that is small. 125,000 for metropolitan population after Moncton and St. John.
Third largest city in the province. Wow.
So Moncton is the biggest.
Mm.
That kind of makes sense, actually, because most people have heard of Moncton.
Well, I don't know about most people. But...
Well, ish.
Most Canadians.
60% of the time, it works every time. An important cultural, artistic, and educational center for the province. Really? Okay.
We have a local in the chat, by the way. I'm in Fredericton. Electric Mist says, sorry to interject, but
why are you apologizing to me?
I don't know. I don't want to throw you off your rhythm.
I ain't got no rhythm.
You got the blues, though.
I do. I do have the blues. I do have the blues. Thank you, Electric Mist. I am in Fredericton. Love it here. From what I've seen, it's a lovely area, actually. It's a beautiful little city, and I hope you don't get upset because I'm going to make some fun of it. Here we go. History. There was archaeological evidence of a camp in the area 12,000 years ago. Come on, man. Everybody knows the Mi'kmaq have been in this area for at least 3 times that. The Wolastoq,
good luck,
farmed several kilometers upriver. Wolastoq. That was awful and I butchered it. Anyways, colonists from the Kingdom of France in the late 1600s built Fort Nashwauk on the north side of the St. John River as the capital of Acadia. There we go. It withstood a British attack in 1696, but the capital was later moved to Port Royal, Annapolis Royal. In 1713, Acadians escaping the British takeover of Nova Scotia settled the site, naming it Point St. Anne. So that's already the third name here since the 1600s.
Yeesh.
It was destroyed in 1758 when the population of about 83 were exiled during the expulsion of the Canadians. Yep, get out of here, you dirty Frenchies.
Yeah.
That's not me saying that, of course. I'm part French Canadian, but they basically got kicked out by the British. The British said, hey, you're French? Go down to Louisiana or something then. That's crazy! It was in 1783 when the United Empire Loyalists arrived from New England that the history of modern Fredericton began. Following year, New Brunswick was partitioned from Nova Scotia and became its own colony. Ah, see, there you go. Hmm. So initially it was all just Nova Scotia, New Scotland. Point St. Anne was renamed Frederickstown after Frederick, second son of King George III.
Oh. Do they have a picture of Frederick?
No, just, oh, wait, they do.
There's Frederick. Can you make that big so we can see him? There he is. That's Frederick. Okay. I wanted to get a look at him. Yeah.
Loving the sideburns. They're glorious. What is his pops?
George. Old George. Oh, looking good.
Powdered wig. His dad was still rocking the old school look.
Yeah.
With the culottes and his sister stockings.
Yeah. Frederick was a rebel. He rebelled from his father's style.
Yeah. This guy was looking very old European.
Mm-hmm.
But Freddie wasn't having it, apparently. So the streets were laid out in the typical grid pattern of the time.
Of course.
What time was this? 1783, roughly? Okay. With names reflecting loyalist tendencies. Charlotte, Brunswick, George, King, and Queen, so on and so forth. 1785, it became the Shire town of York County. In 1790, the New Brunswick Legislative Building was constructed. Look at that, in 1790.
God, that's early.
That's very early, especially for Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget, Canada didn't officially become Canada, if there are people in the chat, if you weren't aware, until 1867, so we're told.
Yeah. Almost
so as a center of government, yeah, basically. It attracted educational institutions with King's College, now the University, yada, yada, Christ Church Cathedral, the Diocese of Fredericton, all built in 1853, eh? Sure, why not? Demographics, climate, so on and so forth. Languages spoken. Mother tongue of 80% of the residents is English, and French is 6%. I thought French would be much higher. Chinese, 1%.
They already expelled. Oh, this is modern day. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's true. They did expel them, so it took them a while to be able to keep trying to sneak back in. Is it okay for us to come back now, monsieur? Oh, can I return to my old family plantation? So, I mean, nothing's really unusually weird in that official story because aside from the bazillion, we're going to change the name of this place a bazillion times. It's a lot of the stuff that we see when it comes to official stories. Then we get into this weird stuff. The Coleman frog. Have you heard of this?
No, not at all.
It was apparently a 40-pound frog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, you hear it. You and I have both mentioned it on this live stream in the past, but also separately on our own content, video uploads, that often a city or a town or even a state or a province or what have you will have its claim to fame. The biggest of or the first of.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest bridge west of the Mississippi, or the first windmill in North America, or you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So this is one of their claims to fame in Fredericton, the Coleman frog, the world's largest frog, apparently. The Coleman frog, also known as Cornelia Webster.
What?
You heard me. Cornelia Webster. That's the name of the frog, I guess.
That's her name, I guess.
I don't get it either. Hey, look at this. T200 says, yay, I was notified of a live stream.
Wow.
Watching from Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, cool. Boy, howdy. Welcome. Oh, yes. There are tunnels under Fredericton, especially under the university. Of course, downtown, we always hear it, right? Underneath downtown and or underneath the university or college. But anyways, back to Cornelia Webster, the frog here. It's a supposed taxidermy specimen of a 19-kilogram or 42-pound frog on display at the Fredericton Region Museum in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, since 1959. It was previously owned by a man named Fred Coleman. The frog was allegedly captured in 1889 from Lake Killarney, north of Fredericton, at which time it was said to have weighed 7 pounds, 4 ounces, or 3.3 kilograms. 3.3.
Mm. So they domesticated it and fed it.
Well, supposedly the immense size of the frog was caused by the fact that Coleman fed it whiskey, baked beans, June bugs, buttermilk toddies, and whey.
Whey for the muscles.
Got to eat your curd and whey.
Well, whey protein is what the weightlifters will take.
Right? Yeah, so did Miss Muffet.
Yeah.
When she was sat upon her tuffet.
That's right.
So it's said to have died in a dynamite accident and was sent to Bangor, Maine to be stuffed. Somebody in the comments in the chat. Yes, there it is. Dynamite accident. Ubu Khan. Good to see you, bud. Yeah, a dynamite accident. But there apparently was enough left over to send it to Maine to be stuffed. I'm sorry, but buddy, if I have an accident with a stick or two of dynamite, can you make me a promise, my friend?
What's that?
Do not send my remains to Maine to get stuffed. It's going to be a horrifying sight.
I will, and I'll make sure they add a good 200 pounds to make it look real big, just like the frog.
Either that or just spread my remains in my most loved places, but don't cremate me first. An arm here, a toe there.
That sounds a bit grisly.
Put his kneecap on this mountain because he'd like to go camping up there. Yeah. Anyways, controversy. Really? You don't say that there was controversy. Can you believe there's controversy on this, people?
No, it's a frog.
I know. It sounds pretty straight up to me, a 40-pound frog. Skeptics, such as the Museum of Hoaxes, say that the frog is a fake and was used to promote a cough syrup that would relieve the frog in your throat.
Okay.
In a 1988 report, the Canadian Conservation Institute stated that the artifact consists of canvas, wax, and paint. And in a letter, it refers to the exhibit as an amusing example of a colossal fake and deception. Kind of like the, the Cardiff Giant.
I don't know. I'm buying the 40-pound frog myself. I don't know if I believe the skeptics.
Well, they're saying that there was some canvas, wax, and paint, so that's why we say it's fake. But I mean, if it was involved in a bloody dynamite accident, you might have to, with stuffing it, you might have to use some canvas and wax and paint.
Take a little taxidermist. Yeah,
I'm no taxidermist, but I would imagine that these three materials may potentially be involved in taxidermy. Mm-hmm. In fact, these three may actually be involved in human embalming and prepping for the open casket there at Nana's funeral or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I know that the famous horror film actor extraordinaire, who was the very first Phantom of the Opera and the first Hunchback of Notre Dame, the heck was his name? Anyways, he used to do his own makeup because he was a silent movie era horror film actor. And they didn't have makeup effects departments back in the 19-teens and 1920s. So he used to do his own makeup, and he was so good and so convincing that it used to freak people out in the theaters, so we're told. And it would take him hours to do it, and he would use wax and paint and canvas and all kinds of wacky stuff. Lon Chaney Sr., that's the guy. Thank you very much, Corky. Not to be confused with his son, who played the Wolfman, Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that's not so weird, but I don't know. Anyways, the museum will not allow DNA testing to be performed on the frog to confirm whether it's a real or a fake. Well, yeah, you got to keep the controversy going because that gets people into the theaters and paying the admission or making the donation to the museum so they can come in and gawk at the thing. I'm just now seeing this at the bottom of this page. It says fur-bearing trout. We're going to go off on a little tangent.
This is really reminding me of P.T. Barnum and the shit that he
It's very P.T. Barnum-esque. The fur-bearing trout or furry trout is a legendary creature found in American folklore and Icelandic folklore. According to the folklore, the trout has created a thick coat of fur to maintain its body heat.
Right.
It's very strange. Anyways, they've got a specimen at the Royal Museum in Scotland. If anybody's interested, I just saw that at the bottom of this Coleman Frog article.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a postcard here. The famous Coleman Frog, weighing 42 pounds, on view at the Barker House, Fredericton, New Brunswick. He was caught in 1889. There's a guy. I don't know what he's doing. Sit, boy, sit.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, girl. Sit, girl. Good girl. Here's a fly, or here's a June bug, or here's a spoon of baked beans and buttermilk toddies. Isn't that what Harry Potter drinks?
I don't know. Is it? I don't even know what that is.
Butter beer, maybe. I'm confusing it.
Buttermilk toddies. So it's a drink, I guess. A warm
Sounds
buttermilk?
Like it's like a hot toddy.
Yeah, warm. Yeah, okay.
It's
interesting find.
So he used to like to get that frog drunk, I guess, is the thing. I put another link in the description below. It's from an article called Mysteries of Canada. It doesn't have anything to do with Fredericton, but it is New Brunswick, but it's actually St. John. But I thought for a lot of our neighbors to the south in the States, this would be interesting. So let me just pull it up really, really quick, and we'll just kind of quickly have a look at it, just to see if there's anything as goofy as the Coleman Frog. Come on, man. It's very strange to me. The frog did kind of look like a pig, eh, Kathy? Yeah, it kind of looked a bit like a pig. And then they just fudged the photo to make it look like a frog. And then, hey, come on down and pay your 2 bits to see it at the museum. Anyways, Benedict Arnold in St. John, New Brunswick. America's most notorious trader, Benedict Arnold, was a merchant in New Haven, Connecticut in his youth. He volunteered to serve in the British colonial militia. But after the revolt of the Americans following the Boston Tea Party, he joined the Continental Army and distinguished himself as a true revolutionary. He rose to the rank of general in the Continental Army. In 1780, he was appointed commander of the fort at West Point. He betrayed the cause of the American War of Independences. Pardon me for having to slightly edit my speech. But as I mentioned on my live stream last night, we have freedom of expression in Canada. We just don't necessarily have the freedom to practice it right now. But anyway, he plotted to hand over the fort to the British. His treachery was discovered and he fled to New York. Then, under British control, British gave Arnold the rank of brigadier general, and he led the British troops in several engagements against the Patriots. After British General Charles Cornwallis surrendered to the Americans at Yorktown in 1781. Benedict Arnold sailed with his family to England, where he serviced the British cause and was praised by King George III. A lot of King George III going on here around the New Brunswick area. Howdy from New Zealand. Or hello from New Zealand. Howdy. Wow. It's a long ways. It's very early in the morning right now in New Zealand.
And upside down.
It is upside down. Hold on to your hat down there, the maelstrom. Ryan says a buddy of mine caught a furry trout down the old watering hole. So he says.
Fish story. I love a good fish story.
Yeah, well, I almost caught one, but it got away right here in the Bow River. They're wily fish. They're a wily fish. Arnold, unable to find command in the British Army, left London in 1785 and settled in St. John, New Brunswick. There he's surrounded by fellow loyalists who had fled the New England colonies and sailed north with their families and their possessions. Sure, it was real easy to do in the 1700s. Just load everything up on a steamer or a sailboat and just all your possessions, all your family, and just boopity boop.
No problem. No problem.
No, you could just, it's like hopping on a bus today or a train. The same thing. It's like going to the airport. You take an Uber to the airport, right? And it's the exact same thing.
It was super easy, barely an inconvenience.
So in New Brunswick, Benedict Arnold began to rebuild his fortunes by acquiring large plots of land and engaging in the shipping trade with the West Indies. He was accused of not paying his debts. He took his accusers to court, charging them with slander. People of St. John were so upset with his behavior that a mob assembled before his house and burned him in effigy.
Oh, wow.
In front of his own house. The hostile environment in the British colony of New Brunswick proved too much for Benedict Arnold and his family. Yeah, you don't say.
Get off the continent.
Yeah, if somebody burns an effigy of you in front of your own house, it's time to skip town, bub.
Yeah.
We crossed the Atlantic again and resettled in London again.
Yeah. It wasn't coming back.
Just a quick little distraction there about Benedict Arnold, who made a few mistakes involving Canada. He actually spearheaded to try to make an invasion into Quebec City. When during the wars of 1812 or something, some skirmish between Canada and the U.S. when Canada was still British North America, and he tried to invade the walled, fortified city of Quebec City from Maine in the winter.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Not a good call. Did they have snowmobiles?
No, they did not. They did not have ski-doos. In fact, they brought boats to try to cross the St. Lawrence, and then they realized, it's frozen. Guess we didn't need these boats, bud.
Sounds like he wasn't the sharpest tool.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Sounds like a likable character, life of the party. Such a Benedict Arnold. Sheesh. Oh, it's only 1:30 p.m. in New Zealand. There you go.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I've got one more article here. Kind of a strange thing. All right, people, get ready for this because I know this is going to be some new narrative, some crazy thing in the official his story of a city or a town that you've never heard before. So I want everybody to sit down because the shock might be too much for you. Yeah, their city hall burned down. I know, it's shocking.
Oh, wow.
But really? Not once, not twice, but thrice. Fredericton's city hall burned down 3 times in suspected arsons.
That never happens.
I don't believe you.
This is from backyardhistory.ca. Again, take it with a grain of salt. It's a little bit of an older article from about 2 years ago. Fredericton enjoys the rather dubious distinction of losing 3 city halls to fire. The third Fredericton city, I guess we're starting from the third and we're working our way back. The third Fredericton City Hall inferno was documented in deep and surprisingly funny detail.
Okay.
Diana Horatia Ewing, the celebrated British author. What was that?
What?
Surprisingly funny?
Well, it's good to add a little comedic relief.
When your city hall burns to the ground? I guess. I mean, laughter is the best medicine after all.
No.
You know, you just got to laugh to keep from crying, I guess. Yeah, that's right. Frank P says overheated 3 times. If there's a fire, they're lying.
There's 3.
They're 3 times liar pants on fire.
Thrice the liar.
Ryan asked, dynamite accident? No. We'll see. If a dynamite could blow up a frog, maybe we can blow up City Hall 3 times. Anyway, she had only just arrived in Fredericton days earlier, having moved to the city with her husband, a British officer who would be stationed in the city for the next 3 years. When the fire broke out on August 31st, 1867, the two of them were sound asleep. They had just returned from a feast held to welcome them to Fredericton. Much of Juliana's astonishment, since she didn't cook, she had servants for that. Oh my.
Wow.
Excuse me. She was gifted vegetables, commenting in a letter to her sister, "You can't think of how kind people are here in the matter of vegetables."
That's how we know.
I thought Prince Edward Island was famous for vegetables, specifically potatoes. Yeah, there's no Chinese food restaurant available yet for takeout or delivery. They were probably still just doing the laundry service. A Chinese man for every mile of the railroad. No Chinese people or Chinese graves. That is interesting. They'll probably explain that away with a verbal gymnastics and a hand wave, such as, well, you know, they were bigoted towards the Chinese, so they just couldn't bother to bury them and put a headstone or a gravestone.
Yeah.
Fires were a particular worry in every city in New Brunswick back then, as evidenced by how the bishop's explicit parting instructions to her husband, Alexander. In the case of the bishop's home catching fire, he was to rush to save the long wooden box.
Yes, of course.
That Alexander asked, "Is this valuable?" "Very," said the bishop. "What is it?" "Music," said the bishop, but Rex didn't seem to see it.
Oh.
I skipped a paragraph here. But earlier that day, Bishop Medley and his wife stopped by to bring even a potted plant and asked them to take care of their house while they were on vacation. It was an unusual request considering they had met only once before. That's when they said, if the place catches on fire, grab that box, save the music. So it appears Alexander, who she nicknamed Rex, did understand its value, because that night Juliana was awoken by him shouting, "I must save the music."
Yes.
We were awoken by the sound of a crackling fire, and "I must save the music." She sat up in bed to see the room flooded with flickering light from a fire in Fredericton. Later writing, "I could hear the particular roar of the fire and see the flames rising up through the open window." She added that she hopped out of bed and raced towards the window. "It seems to come from the Medleys," I told Rex. "That I must save the anthems," said Rex in a thunderous voice. It was almost amusing, and off he went. And being awoken in the night by the sound of a fire and the glow of that flickering fire in the town of the city not far away. Oh yeah, that's hilarious. I would be pooping bricks. I would wake up all panicked and discombobulated. She didn't like being left out of the action, so Juliana went to wake up her servant. Sarah woke up with much difficulty. Now awoken, the servant promptly unsettled Juliana by casually reeling off a list of recent Fredericton fires, she wrote. "The coolness with which people regard being burned out here is amazing." Well, it's because people like you keep making jokes about it, I guess. Sarah was telling me all sorts of burning out anecdotes. Her former mistress had been burned out 3 times. There's a certain man she told me of, wherever he settles, fire follows him. It could make a splendid story of it in the Edgar Poe style. 2 of them hurried off in the night to find the fire completely unprepared, not only to be helpful, but even to move quickly. Ewing noted that I had to stop en route to tie up my stockings with handkerchiefs.
Man, the level of detail in these stories really gets to me. Silly level of detail.
I think how you know that it's a crock of doo-doo.
I think so too.
they get so much into all these tiny little details, but then when it comes to how it started and how it spread, we don't know. Could have
Nobody
been an
knows.
arsonist, I guess. Not too sure there, but.
Yeah.
Anyways, as they went along, they realized it was not the bishop's home at 79 Church Street that was on fire. There was actually a considerably larger fire raging downtown. As we got nearer, Ewing wrote, we seemed to be going out in the blaze of falling sparks, and at last we found it. We had passed the place an hour or so before. It was a square called, get this, Phoenix Square.
Ah, okay.
And how many times it had risen from its own ashes, I know not. But the other half of the square was burnt down before we came. Are you kidding me with this?
Of course. Nice find. Nice little nugget in there. The Phoenix nugget.
That's ridiculous. Ewing seemed completely unfazed, writing, when Sarah and I arrived, the flames poured out of the window and licked around the walls. It was wonderful. The other half of the square had been burned was actually the ruins of another Fredericton City Hall, which had burned down that May, only 3 months earlier.
Wow. 3 months.
While modern readers might think she was acting flippant to the point of being offensive about Fredericton losing yet another city hall to fire, if anything, she seems to take it more seriously than most Frederictonians. They apparently found it hilarious. I highly doubt it.
Wow.
One local newspaper led with Fredericton presented another claim to the title, The City of Fire, on Friday night.
Okay.
The paper shrugged that virtually no Frederictonians lifted a finger to try and fight the flames due to the discredit of the citizens. So now the newspaper is shaming people for not getting out of their beds at night and carrying buckets of water to put the thing out. You didn't have a fire brigade or fire department there, Fredericton? According to Ewing's letter, though, there were no buildings close enough for the flames to catch, and City Hall was doomed anyway, explaining Frederictonians' lack of urgency, an almost comical element to see the ashes fall about their eyes, going about for a pocket handkerchief and wiping soot all over their faces. Perhaps because City Hall's catching fire was relatively common at this point, Frederictonians began chatting with each other, recognizing friends in the flickering light of the flames. Ewing wrote, there's something comical in the meeting of friends in all places of semi-undress, in all phases, of semi-undress. We're hardly expected to meet again so soon. There's only 78,000 people there today.
Yeah.
Let alone in the 1880s? 1867. What do you think? Oh, I never see you anymore, Ethel, in this massive, bustling city. It can't be that big. It keeps freaking burning down. It was, this is goofy. I don't know what you people in the chat think, but I find this, I mean, I did briefly peruse the article, but I haven't read it thoroughly like I am now. I like to try to keep it fresh and spontaneous, and this is goofy as heck.
Yeah.
Most astonishing part of all three fires of Fredericton City Hall was rumored to be the work of arsonists. The New Brunswick Reporter newspaper alleged that the 1850 fire was arson. Historian Austin Squires claimed the May 1867 fire was probably the result of arson. And Ewing herself claimed that this August 1867 fire she watched was the work of incendiaries.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's little proof, but arsonist.
A lot of detail, though. A lot of small details.
See? We had to tie up our stockings with handkerchiefs, running through the dark until we recognized each other by the flickering light of the fire, even though people were wiping ash all over their faces, so you wouldn't see their faces very well, even in the light of a fire, because it would be covered in ash. It's pretty goofy. And then 3 fires to the point where people are just like, let it burn. It's fine. It's totally fine.
They weren't just fine with it. They were laughing. They were having a great time.
Yeah. Just going to have a fire party here in the City of Fire. Absolutely ridiculous, man. I don't know. Maybe it's me. call me crazy, but that just seems utterly ridiculous. Well, that's what I've got for you, people, for the weird and wacky supposed official his story of some of what's going on there in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Kinley Jackson's here. Late as usual, too much going on. No worries. Just good to see you. That's just smart. I never thought of that. Sounds much easier to catch and race a smoking pigeon rather than all that work involved with a lighter. Yeah, you just get you a pigeon to drop a cigarette or a cigar on a building. Isn't that one of the narratives for some city fire?
Hey, share my screen for a sec, Frank. I'm just going to build on that one sec. I just found this now. We also have another great fire in 1825 in Fredericton.
Well, will you look at that? So it really is the city of fires, people.
Yeah, this guy, he becomes the hero, Sir Howard Douglas, and he became famous for 2 weeks earlier charging into a burning building, the government house, to save all their vital documents. So these stories just seem to pop up over and over. A burning cinder blew onto a roof on York Street. Started with the forest fire and then the Great Fire, 1825. So yet another catastrophe. Thought I'd throw that into the mix since we're on the topic.
Nice find, bud. Nice catch. I was so discombobulated with the fact that their city hall burnt down 3 times that I didn't even really bother to see. But wait a second, how many fires did they have? I just assumed all were telling us they had at least 3.
Yeah,
I thought the city hall fire burning down 3 times was crazy enough that I never bothered to even.
it's a good excuse. Good excuse to erase history. Oh, there's a fire then. There's a fire then. There's a fire then. So there's no paper
absolutely.
trail.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I discussed in my documentary was that, there's micro, meso, and macro resets, right? So you have the micro ones, like you might have a small localized town or city fire, and that's an opportunity for the powers who should not be to roll out a reset or the next stage in their agenda. And then you have the meso stuff, like maybe a larger flood or an earthquake or a volcano. And then you have the macro stuff like, massive wildfires or massive tsunamis or what have you. Or, of course, conflicts, military conflicts for, to watch what I'm saying and so on. So, yeah, these are opportunities for them to, even if the fire was, an actual accident, it's a good excuse for them to, the opportunists that they are, to say, hey, guys, we might be able to kick this thing off a little early here, and this flood or this fire or this tornado might make it easier for us here. Let's face it, they are leeches and parasites. So why would a leopard change its spots when it comes to the MO of their reset?
Yeah, eraser, the magic eraser, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right, Kinley Jackson. Fire season is coming up here. That's right. As you move from spring into summer.
Yeah.
They don't fill the reservoirs up with enough water and all kinds of crazy stuff going on too, because they like to help along these so-called natural wildfires. Oh, it was a lightning struck some dead trees, and then lo and behold, the wind blew it, and look out, man. We have how come all the reservoirs to get water are empty?
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you say we take a quick break here, gather our thoughts, and then we come back and you can give them the old 1-2 punch with your photo folder. What do you think? Your file folder?
I got a pretty good size folder for such a small city. I think there's some interesting stuff in there. Yeah, sounds good.
All right, sweet. So I managed to find some footage here. It's New Brunswick as well. Unfortunately, not Fredericton. Sorry, Frederictonians. It is St. John, though, so just up the river. This is from the 1920s, St. John, New Brunswick. What are we looking at time-wise here? Just a little over 2 minutes. So a short but sweet 2-minute break. Nice little intermission. Stick with us, and we'll be right back. All right, everyone?
Well, that was a
All
nice
right.
tune. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right? Kind of a little bit of a jaunty maritime tune and some great
Yeah.
footage from the 20s. Pretty good, actually. Considering I like to pull from the original raw footage, I don't like to use the AI colored, enhanced, speed adjusted, blah, 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 blah crap, because I don't like the AI garbage for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
It's a useful tool in some ways, like how
Yeah.
we were talking about behind the scenes for
Hmm.
collating dates and, helping you to organize different folders and so on.
Yeah.
But in terms of creativity, I'm not a fan of the using AI. So yeah,
No.
that's some pretty nice footage.
Yeah, let's be honest, it's sort of flooding our subject matter, the old world subject matter right now. So it's
Yeah, you got to watch it out there, people.
Yeah.
You really got to be careful who you trust with your information.
so
You
no
don't have to
AI,
worry.
no AI visuals in my presentation. Just
That's right.
disclaimer.
Yeah, same with me on my channel. There's no AI. In fact, I poke fun at the AI,
Yep.
which is maybe why YouTube punishes me all the time.
You poke AI in the eye.
I do. I do poke AI in the eye. Absolutely. But you don't have to worry about AI on our channels. So, and speaking of our channels, links below for how you can get a hold of both myself, Frankie at New West Reset, and Chris at Old World Exploration. And then, links below for all the Wikipedia stuff and that as well. And links below for how you can support Chris's research and my research just through various, for myself, a donation through the channel gets you some New West Reset swag. And Chris has got some, he's actually got published merchandise available on his channel.
Yeah, 3 books on demolished buildings. Yeah.
Want to talk a little bit about that real quick before we get into the photos, bud?
Yeah, no, that's my gift to the community, I suppose. It's a bit of a source of income, not much, but it's something that people can have in their collection in the tangible form. I find it useful if you just plop it on the coffee table and one of your normie friends, for lack of a better term, that isn't into this subject matter picks it up and starts flipping through, and their jaw sort of falls to the ground and they can't believe what they're looking at. Disbelief sets in, and you can just sort of reiterate, yeah, no, that was a city hall in that city that was torn down after 30 years. And, it's a nice little spark if you're trying to get this subject matter to people that aren't into it. And if they are, it's nice to have in your collection for sure.
Yeah, it helps to plant the seed for some folks that, maybe have heard of it, but they think it's a bunch of online conspiracy hogwash from a bunch of neckbeards down in their parents' basement.
Yeah,
it doesn't realize the amount of work that's involved in this research.
Yeah, the whole thing, that whole Tartaria thing doesn't have to be giants building with angels. It could be. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying this is a much more tangible conspiracy rabbit hole than that. And you can start
it's much more. It's much easier to digest in that coffee table book form with the photographs because everybody, a picture says 1,000 words, and everybody, whether you're into architecture or old world or not, everybody can appreciate the beauty of the photos of those buildings that are in your book.
Yeah,
books, 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're spectacular buildings. The architecture was amazing. So, yeah. And we'll look at some right now from Fredericton.
Awesome. Tina in the chat saying the early volunteer fire departments and fire brigades had sponsors and buildings had a kind of subscription or insurance. Yeah. So if you would sponsor a certain fire brigade. So if your building caught on fire, they would come to your building. But if you didn't, then you had to rely on the public with their buckets of water.
Yeah.
Forming chain gangs of buckets of water. You know what I'm saying?
As long as they're not laughing at the fire. Let's take a look.
Stand around laughing, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're sitting there laughing. They're not putting any city hall fires out that way.
It's a little demoralizing for the rest of the town folk. They come up to see what the commotion is all about, and they just see people standing around pointing and laughing at their city hall burning to the ground for the 3rd time. Come on. It's a little cold-blooded, isn't it there, Frederictonians?
Here's the population demographics. We looked at the modern day. I think you said it was like just under 80,000 and maybe just over 100 in the metropolitan area of Fredericton.
Yeah.
Not a large city in the modern day. Look at the turn of the century here. 7,000 people living there in 1901. That's tiny. I did
Yeah.
not expect that, especially considering the age they tell us. Like, if you follow the demographics back, that goes back to 1871, they say this place was a city in the late 1700s. How many people were supposed to be living there at the time? You know, it's one of those things to consider, I think, when you're looking at the structures. Well, we'll hop back to that as we go through some of the slides here. So this is just a street scene I thought was interesting. It gives you a sense of the architecture here in the background.
Just to
Multi-story.
interject to folks too that actually New Brunswick was one of the original 4 provinces of Canada that declared their independence from Great Britain on July 1st, 1867. So it's not like they're a Johnny-come-lately out in the boondocks, far-flung regions of Canada. They're right there at the very beginning of the historical timeline. So to have their capital city at the turn of the last century would be only roughly 7,000 people.
Yeah.
It's very, very small.
And not a lot of growth really over those 3 decades. You see 1871 to 1901, you're looking at about 1,000 people. Pretty stagnant considering that timeline. Pretty much everywhere I look is like an exponential boom in population. So not so in Fredericton.
Slow and steady wins the race, like the tortoise and the hare, I reckon.
Apparently. Yeah. I thought I'd throw this one in there to give you a bit of that British feel, because we like to target the monarchy on our shows. We know that they're up to no good, the Victorian era, right? And heavy influence there, of course.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's take a look here. So I have this is supposedly 1870 in Fredericton. See here, that's what they're telling us. And again, a town of 7,000 people. Well developed, as you can see here. Wide streets.
Almost like they're anticipating modern roads and modern transportation.
Yeah, where's the rationale with the grid process? I think you showed that in the first segment there. The gridded this thing out really early on.
Yes,
I think it's like late 1700s.
Yeah, 1780 something. Yeah.
Jeez. And they just gave a wide berth for the horse and buggies to pass by each other on the roads, I suppose.
I've featured on my channel in the past on live streams really small prairie towns where there's, and I'm not even exaggerating, 2,000 or 3,000 people. Mm-hmm. They have a main street like this, and it's just as wide. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Back in 1905 or 1895 or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, interesting logic if you try to fit that into the historical narrative, And again, the multi-storied aspect, why you've got 6,000 people living there, and you've got in 1870 4-story buildings consistently all the way down this stretch. And that's a lot of work and a lot of congestion of space for such a small city. Kind of interesting. Okay, we have an early Baptist church getting built apparently in 1883. Still standing, and it's a beauty for sure. It's got the rosette windows.
Very tall, extremely angled, steep spire too.
Yeah, with the 4 little pointies below the main pointy, and it's a church, but that's not a cross.
No, it's some kind of weirdo doohickey, some kind of antiquitect maybe or something.
Yeah, so these are kind of things that jump out at me when I'm looking at, a lot of the churches, they're outfitted with the cross on top, which I suspect were retrofitted. Not the case for this one, and this as well, right?
Mm-hmm. It almost looks like a fleur-de-lis, which they can again hand wave away. Oh, that's the French Acadian influence, because the fleur-de-lis in French and France and all that.
Yeah, maybe. Here's a closer look at that church with a little bit of a clearer resolution. Just 1883. This is the brickwork, or the stonework, I should say, going on at the time. Very, very high level of skill involved with the construction of this church. And there you have the little, again, the finial, which you see so often in these old world structures. They plop the date here on this little door finial, whatever you want to call it, decorative finish for the arch, 1882. It says there, close enough. This is 83 online. Strange.
With a year or two amongst amongst bullshitters, if you pardon my language.
This is strange too. That's this little feature here down below with these horizontal blocky things. Kind of interesting anyway. Nice old
almost
looking
like they're filling in something or something. It used to be there that isn't there anymore. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. And then even this building in the background as well is giving you that definite old world vibe. The arched windows.
That's a beauty too.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine a lot of it's been sanitized. So a lot of it has seemed to survived. A lot of that I found here as we move forward, because it can be justified under the narrative, I think, of what Fredericton is. It's a capital city. It has some age. So a lot of this can come down through us through time without seeing the wrecking ball, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. As most especially too, because you've got because it was one of the first original four. It was named after like a king's son or nephew or whatever it was. So I mean, there's a lot of things that would justify them keeping some of this stuff around, but they're still going to edit things, dumb stuff down, remove stuff, or do quote unquote renovations on some of these buildings. But of course, there's fires and floods and all that other stuff to take care of the rest. So that way they determine what people get to see and what's left over. And they determine what gets to be destroyed and then hidden and then eventually forgotten.
Yeah, it has to fit a narrative, right? Fit the narrative that they want for the history of that area.
But such a long timeline for Fredericton, though. I wouldn't see the need to tear anything down. They could easily just explain away a lot of these old stone buildings. Yeah, well, we've been here since the 1780s. Like, what do you want?
Yeah. Well, everyone back then apparently was a stonemason, which contradicts what we're taught about history and how most of these things were rough sawn shacks was always the impression of historical construction, really, unless it was really reserved for, really, really fancy purpose-built buildings, I guess. But there seems to be so many of them, and there's so much labor that goes involved with the construction in that fashion. Yeah, here's just a little look at 6 churches in one postcard. So it gives you a sense of how many there were that were being shown. And just a street scene again with a church in the background. You can see sort of the different styles here. You got the brickers here, and then right here on the left, you've got what I would expect was more of a 4-walled gable roof, simple structure.
Yeah, wood frame, 2-story. Possibly with what looks like wooden siding, maybe.
Yeah, that would be relatively easy to put up, considering even then they didn't have power. So all these things would still take quite a bit of time, where these days we can zip through it with a circular saw, whatever it might be, right? It was all hand tools back then, right? So you have to keep these things in mind when you're looking at these structures, I think.
And again, keep in mind, it's Canada. So you've got long winters, especially on the Atlantic coast.
Yeah, harshness.
You get those nor'easters, those big storms, and it's windy, and they get blizzards. I've seen firsthand what can happen in the winter storm in Newfoundland. Yeah. So, I mean, you're just a hop, skip, and a jump away over in New Brunswick from Newfoundland, and it's the same story, same as Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. It's not unusual to get 10 or 12-foot snow drifts.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just a street scene too, just showing you again the turret style that was incorporated into the building, even of just regular homes. Really, I guess
these are just private residences, right?
Yeah, nice looking street, reminding me a bit of Victoria in British Columbia here, having a similar feel.
With the tree-lined streets and the turret with conical dome houses and stuff.
Yeah. There's the Parliament building, which we will be looking at as we move forward. I have some dates attached to some of these structures. And I believe this structure no longer stands either. We'll see it as we move forward. That's the Canadian Parliament building down here in the bottom right, which is in Ottawa. It happens to be on this postcard.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they stuck it on Fredericton
Fredericton,
postcard.
yeah. To doll it up a little bit. So this is a nice one. I like this one. This is again showing you the wide streets, the open thoroughfares, the fountain, which we have talked quite a bit about on previous shows. The fountains being a part of this old world system, not just for decoration, but potentially part of the whole cooling process of the energetics and the interaction of these buildings with whatever energy was used in these societies, and then the fountains being a large part of that infrastructure, I guess. And
the other thing I'm noticing on this postcard is it's labeled Phoenix Square from their fire, the Phoenix.
Yeah, that's right, which came up in that article. So still being Phoenix Square. I wonder if it is still Phoenix Square. If our Fredericton locals still in there, let us know. But again, you're seeing just with the population, it doesn't make sense to me. 7,000 people at the turn of the century.
All of these huge buildings, big wide street with a wide ass sidewalk promenade with the trees separating. I mean, it looks this. If you were to say to me, "Oh, there's 40,000 people in this city," I'd be like, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
Yeah,
not 7,000 or 8,000.
Yeah, that's really what struck me looking at the demographics. It just seems really strange. And yeah, picturesque too. That comment in the corner looks so much nicer. It does. It is really nice it has a nice vibe to it. That's part of that old world charm, I think.
I think that there's something to be said for town squares, city squares, piazzas, whatever you want to call them, depending where you are in the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, we see a nice example of it here. You've got some beautiful green spaces, public spaces, trees, a fountain, some grassy areas. I'm sure there's some flower gardens there. There's probably some fruit trees there too. I think that was a big thing in the old world in a lot of these,
sure,
for lack of a better term, inner city park areas. You know, they had fruit trees and stuff like that where people could go to the park, pick some fruit off the tree, sit down, relax, have a snack, and it was all just open to the public.
Yeah. Nowadays, you got a tent and you got some needles lying around the edge of the building and
discarded needles and tent cities everywhere in the city parks. Yeah.
Yeah. So something has been diminished for sure. The Christchurch Cathedral. 1845 to 1853. Looking very isolated where it stands in this drawing, of course.
It's a beautiful structure, though. I featured this on my Easter Sunday live stream. I featured old churches in Canada, and this definitely was one.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and then even in the background, we're getting depictions of more spires in that early time period. Again, not a lot of people living there. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, Water the Tree earlier in the chat said there's probably one every few blocks, I'm sure.
Yeah. So they were talking about a very devout people that were really into building beautiful structures to worship. Or there's something more to the story here too. Yeah, there it is in the modern day. A view of it. This window is spectacular, isn't it?
That scroll worker on that window is extraordinary.
Yeah, mid-1800s in Fredericton,
and all that leaded stained glass in there too. It's not just big giant pieces; it's tiny little intricate, little, stained glass puzzle. Incredible.
Yeah, and I wonder what the population would said to have been that far back. The demographics on Wikipedia go back to 1870. You got to go back a couple more decades when this one was supposed to have been built. Makes me wonder.
Well, what was it? 7,000 around 1900?
Yeah, and about 6,000 around 1870, I believe. We look at that again. So yeah, 6,000 in 1871.
So 1861, we could maybe say there was 5,500 being conservative. 1851, let's go with 5,000 people, although I'm sure it was probably more like 3,000 or 4,000. But that's still, it's pretty tough to justify all of these big, huge churches and other big buildings, which I'm sure you'll feature coming up here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, so far we've only seen a couple, and it's already making us scratch our heads according to the population narrative.
Yeah, just the resources that the people at the time would have had at their disposal is it's just hard to wrap your head around. Well, you'd think a single room with pews would do, you know what I mean? Maybe with a little bit higher ceiling to make it feel like a church, but certainly not.
Yeah, vaulted ceilings so that when you're singing your hymns, it, you know, and the choir joins in, it sounds nice or whatever. But yeah, it's about all you need.
Yeah, a bit of acoustics, I suppose, if you have the resources. Yeah, it's a nice one. It's a nice one for sure. It's definitely one that I'd go check out if I were in Fredericton. And the stonework is impeccable too, considering mid 1800s as well. All dressed, all these stones, and then randomized too. You notice how it's not just row upon row, the way the stones interlock with each other.
Yeah, it's not like courses of brick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's more like Tetris or Jenga, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, quite the riddle, definitely. And we have the interior as well. Just get a sense of what's going on inside. And I mean, we talk a lot about the churches as well, and hoarders of knowledge, you know, in our society.
Oh yeah, they're just as guilty, I think, as the government, for lack of a better term, museums, universities.
Yeah, one and the same. The power structures, right? That's what they did, is they seated themselves in the power structures of society, I think, and then they changed the story to favor them and to allow them to hold on to that power, you know. So here we're looking at, I believe it's the normal school to the right, City Hall, I think the middle one, and I'm not sure what the one in the background is.
Could be the post office, maybe.
Possibly. We will see another post office as we move forward. It could have been a previous that I could find no trace of. I did look. I do dig into these types of buildings when I look into these cities just to see what was there and if there's any evidence online. And Fredericton was tough. It was tough to find, dig into the roots of it. You know, some cities, they do have a lot online. But yeah, normal school.
That roof line on that building in the middle of the postcard on the top of the tower there, that's very what we call that sort of Canadian, trademark Canadian style. You see that on the Parliament buildings in Ottawa. You see that on a lot of official government buildings.
A lot of post offices, yeah.
And according to a couple of shows that you and I have done together now, we've come across that narrative that this style has been sort of attributed as being very Canadiana, for where, even though we see it elsewhere in the realm, but I don't know.
Yeah. I right away, I think of post offices I've seen in Vancouver, Edmonton. Yeah, having a similar look for sure. Interesting too, if we're looking at the normal school and built in a similar fashion to, you know, churches. You have the triple arch here, a lot of the decoration going on. And I just recently did a video on high schools in the States in particular, and how they had all these castle high schools and built in the 1880s and 1890s. But high school, the stat I pulled out of it was that 15 to 17% of teenagers actually even attended high school during those decades. It was not a common occurrence to go to high school. A lot of kids would finish after the primary grades and get into the workforce.
A lot of them would go to about grade 8. You know, they were about 14 or so, and then they would get a job because they were told that
they had to.
The family.
They had to. Everyone was poverty stricken, right? And the kids.
But meanwhile, they're building these exquisite buildings with massive detail that seems like money is no object. And then the schools are so huge, and then they have to have massive normal schools to teach the teachers what to teach the students, and those schools are huge. So if only 15% are attending all the way through high school and graduating, but you've got a population of about 7,000, like what is going on here?
Yeah.
What was there, 5 kids in each classroom?
Well, that's the thing, and that's often how the story begins with many of these schools, is that it started off with 6 kids. And the next year it was 12, and 10 years later they had whatever. You know, it's the same story that repeats. So either they were just really good at seeing what was coming down the road and decided to dump all of their resources into these massive structures, or somebody's lying.
There's definitely some shenanigans going on one way or the other.
Oh, this one's not coming up, so I'll jump to this one.
So looking must have been a good one.
Yeah, same stretch here. Oh, and on this one, there's your build date, 1876. So this, I believe, is the normal school we're looking at here.
Yeah,
and we're
looks
looking
to be that way.
Yeah, and we're looking down the way at the city hall, I believe. There's that.
There's the clock tower and that roof style there.
Yeah. So you can see here the date, 1870. Remember, 7,000 people living there at the time. How many of them were kids, and how many of them were kids that were going to go to school? Things to consider when you look at these structures. And how well built is this thing for 1876?
With that pink granite column there, with the super embellished capital on top of it.
Yeah, for a normal school. We don't do them like that these days, anywhere near that exquisite.
No, I went to a red brick school, but it was built in the 80s, and it's fugly. Doesn't look anything like these exquisite lovelies, that's for sure.
Does it have column capitals on it?
No.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely not. It doesn't even have columns.
Exactly. It's boxy.
Very boxy.
Yeah. There's the clock tower that we were looking at.
4 1s, that's wrong. You got to take that back to the clock store and get a refund. That clock's not right.
Yeah, IV, right? IV.
Roman IV. Yeah. Just like 10 is IX.
Yeah.
Which is, 9 is IX, 10 minus 1.
Yeah. That's
so
how
it should be IV, 5 minus 1.
It's interesting. Very exquisite brickwork here again.
Yeah, that's stacked.
Early. Yeah, it's beautiful, right? The buttressing, I guess you could say, that would be the buttressing of the brick.
Old Giuseppe knew how to work that brick, I tell you.
And you know what? With that picture, this one here that we can't see, I'm sure I had the build date for this city hall in there. And I would imagine it's right in around the same time as the normal school, which is telling us 1876.
Let me look it up right now as you're featuring that.
So we have a postcard here of the custom house on the left. Again, you have a basement. You can see even have windows underneath the stairs. Multi-storied, mansard roof. Nice looking structure. And then we have the post office here on the right.
Ah, okay. So that other one was not the post office.
Yeah, that's what I don't even know what that one was. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So we have, the post office, and I think I have the date attached to that as we move forward. Let's take a look at the custom house in the modern day, built in 1882. So all of these, what we're looking at here, springing up really in those decades, 1870s, 1880s so far.
That looks like a couple of buildings that I've featured here in Calgary on Boots on the Ground. There's an apartment building that's been converted into a sort of a recovery center. And it looks almost identical to that, except for the tower in the center of the roof. But it does have the mansard roof with the curved dormers.
They're so nice, eh? Those mansard roofs.
I like them.
They're really nice to look at.
It looks funny being flat on top, but otherwise that curve to the angle would be very conducive to shedding ice and snow, I would think.
Yeah.
It would make sense to have a roof line like that anywhere where there's a lot of snow.
Yeah. And what do you think of the addition here, the Sports Hall of Fame addition here on the side?
Oh, it's exquisite. It marries into the original structure so seamlessly.
Whoever the architect was on that really dotted their I's and crossed their T's to make sure it fit the look of the old custom house.
Just looks...
It's disgusting.
You could spot it if you're walking along the sidewalk as a tourist, right? And you're touring around Fredericton.
Yeah. Because
it does have, a history in terms of, there's no denying the official history of Canada is, Fredericton and New Brunswick as a whole. It's right up there.
Yeah.
So you're, a tourist. You're out there taking photos. And you stop to take a picture of this, and then you see that addition built onto the side. You must just be like, whoa. It just sticks out like a sore thumb.
It looks like
Ryan says it's a wart.
Totally, it does. It's a goiter. The whole thing looks like it's a sports hall of fame now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like they've done the whole building. By the way, I've got the year. Fredericton City Hall was built. 1 year wonder, 1875 to 1876.
Wow, there you go. Same year as the normal school here in the foreground. These were built.
It replaced a previous 1867 City Hall destroyed by fire.
Oh, would you look at that?
Of course, that fire. So this one is the second or the third, because there's 3 fires, right? So this City Hall is either the
that's
second or the
right.
third.
That's right. These were going up at the same time, then we're told, right next to each other in a city of, let's say, 5,500 people. Okay, buddy. Okay.
I wonder what type of stone that is locally. Like here in Calgary, it's brick and sandstone, which is sort of a beige.
For this one here?
Stone.
Yeah.
That looks almost gray or whitish. So I wonder what that is. I wonder if it's limestone or something.
I'll show you here in the modern day. So we have so this is our build date. We talked about this earlier as well. The dating on a lot of these tend to range in right before the big WW1 or around or consecutively, I guess, in this case, right at the same time.
Which is also a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, exactly. So it's another, these things seem to come in phases. You have your 1870s to 1890s, and then you have your sort of 1905 to 1917, let's say.
Yeah.
These chunks of time that these buildings get these designations. Yeah. And nice looking clock tower on this one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, with the dome on top too.
Isn't that the kind of thing you'd want to hold on to down through time? Is that nice looking dome?
Especially with having 4 clocks. You're not just slapping 1 clock in it. You're slapping 4 clocks in it. Now, maybe they're all running off of one centralized mechanism. That makes sense, and is probably the case. But even still, you've got to pay for the additional 3 clock faces and the labor to install those. So again, it just goes back to this small little city early on in their official narrative. It's just, we're just going to put 4 clock faces in here.
It's a bustling
just down the street, there's a clock face already on the tower on the City Hall.
They almost got 8,000 people living there by this time, Frankie.
Oh,
by the
yeah.
time, almost 8,000. It's a huge, bustling metropolis.
You're right. It's elbow to elbow on the sidewalks around here.
And you know what, though? No dome for you. We had to get rid of that thing. Gone.
What did you say?
Didn't stand the test of time. Poor dome on the top there. Before, after.
I'm surprised, but not surprised. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Nice looking post office, but yeah, I don't even know. It's not high enough resolution to get too close. I would imagine granite is involved in the build of this thing.
Looks like it's granite or limestone.
Yeah. I'll keep going here. Oh, cool. We'll turn the clocks back to right after that big fire that I just happened upon, the 1825 fire that destroyed a third of Fredericton. And they built a government house right after it, apparently. Here it is.
Yeah, back when they were still a colony, it was, Fredericton. It says Fredericton, New Brunswick, but I think at this time they were still, when they still have been,
Acadia?
they hadn't separated from Nova Scotia yet.
Yeah, it was a part of Acadia. Weren't they calling it Acadia back then?
I'm gonna just go back to it and have a look here real quick.
Oh, my dog's going crazy. Hope that isn't putting you off. You can hear that dog.
Are you kidding? I love dogs. I love animals, dogs especially.
Well, there's the government house in the modern day. I've lost another photo here. I don't know what's going on with my files.
Must have been another good one.
Maybe. I'll keep moving forward here, though. What do we have? Oh, yeah, I like this one. This one, the old Hart Boot and Shoe Company, best shoemakers in Canada.
So they partitioned from Nova Scotia in 1784. So I was off there. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's a ways back. Back. Yeah. So they were their own thing at the time they put the government house together, this old place here.
Don't get me wrong. It's a beauty.
Yeah, it's nice looking. I'm sure there's a lot going on down below on a structure like that. Weren't we talking earlier? Maybe some people knew about some tunnels from the university. In
Yes, actually online I read that was one of the legends of the official history too, like one of the, so-called weird facts, like with the Coleman frog and stuff. One of the things was tunnels under downtown and tunnels under the university. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just looking at Paul Thaddeus's comment here. Your dog just started a Chihuahua riot over here. Sorry about that. That's my Luna. She gets a little crazy from time to time. Yeah.
Bless her.
Yeah. Well, this one still stands too, the old Heart Boot and Shoe. So I like the old big factory type complexes as well, which seem to pop up a lot in my research, with all sorts of different designations. And
yeah, this is a boot and shoe manufacturing plant. It's pretty fancy though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not with the little, you had to put a tower on it with the little fence and the flagpole, little flagpole.
On a boot factory?
Why not?
They probably have like, child labor and all kinds of unsafe equipment in there. Those big belt driven machines and all that. It's totally fine.
They put the orphans in there, right? There's no parents to worry about their safety. Working on
an exquisite building on the outside, though. Like, why would you take over this building and redesignate it as a shoe and boot making factory? I mean, that's not the first thing I would think of if I came across this building and fixed it up and said, I stood back and looked at it and said, all right, job well done. What does it look like? I know, a factory.
Yeah. And it's got the basement too. You can see all the windows down below.
Same as the old breweries. They don't necessarily look like they were made for brewing beer. Yeah, you're right. Look at those low windows. Some of them blocked in.
Yeah, blocked in. And you have that stone going on here, and then still stands. Neat looking building. Even the tower still stands, which is pretty cool. They got rid of the fence.
Oh, of course they took the tech off.
Yeah, had to. But old structure, I would say. Old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think this was built as a shoe factory. Come on.
Yeah. This is designated as a high school. That's all I could find on it. So
it's a nice looking old high school if it was a high school at one point. Wow.
Yeah, and based on what we've seen so far, what would you guess for the build date? I don't have the information, just an educated guess based on what we've seen so far.
I don't know, 1860s.
Yeah, it's 1860s, 1870s, maybe right in and around the same time the normal school and the city hall were going up. I would imagine they're going to throw this one in there. Maybe. And I also suspect that this was not always a flat top.
Me too. In fact, I have my suspicions about the color of that top portion as well as the color of all the dormers.
As do I.
I'm wondering if maybe they've done some additions or dumbing down or changed some stuff.
They went with the matte gray so it doesn't catch your eye.
Could be. Yeah, that's right. It just blends in.
Nice looking high school again. Why are you building all these schools when school's not really that big a thing yet? A high school, anyway.
Ryan says they made knee-high frogskin boots at that boot factory. The frogs are huge around here. We can make so many boots. We need a bigger factory.
Yeah.
Our factory's as big as our frogs here in Fredericton.
Okay. Let's have a look here. So this is just a little snippet of the of a bird's eye view map. I think it's this one. It's kind of grainy. I couldn't get a really high res, so I have a few snippets of it.
There's that grid pattern they're talking about. Although the sort of Riverside Drive is kind of rounded or follows the curve, so at least that's got some aesthetic ease to it.
Yeah,
and it looks like a giant park area right in the middle there too.
Here,
yeah, right in there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. A couple buildings here. I think we will see this one too. The A.F. Randolph's Wholesale Warehouse. Look at that. That's a wholesale warehouse there, Frankie.
Yeah, come and get your cheap goods that the regular stores couldn't sell. So we got it here, selling it to you for wholesale.
You can look out the dormers. Get up to the 4th floor and look out the dormers.
Maybe go up in the tower, have a nap. The one next to it's also a wholesaler. Everything's going wholesale in Fredericton.
Yeah, false front, right?
Yeah. Got to make it look super fancy from the street.
Even this one's a mansard. That's got very similar styling, and remember, it's just drawings. Large streets as well. Depictions
It's a
are all.
lawyer or a judge. It says Esquire after his name.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
D.F.
D.F.
George Esquire. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the Parliament building. We'll look at that shortly here.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. No, it's nice. Okay, let's keep moving on. Memorial Hall, part of the University of New Brunswick. I have a couple from the university. I didn't actually pull too many. That's supposedly where the tunnels are. But
so they've done triangular dormers, and then they've done sort of a semicircular, pediment over the main door
kind of
there.
A unique look for sure. Yeah.
There's a window under the stairs there on that one side too. It looks like.
Yeah, down below.
So that's a hollow void under there.
Yeah. Yeah. Not the most eye-catching structure, but it has that bit of a old world, nice materials type feel.
Yeah, it's got the coining down the edges there. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So this is the Parliament building. 2-year build time on this sucker. 1880. Let's take a look at the demographics again. What do we got here? 1880. 6,000 still. Hasn't really grown much in the decade before previous.
It's probably pretty safe to say that all the photos we're looking at here, that's the population is going to be either 5, 6, or 7,000 people.
Tiny little city. Tiny. But this is a hell of a building. Of course, this would be the tourist attraction. If you went to Fredericton, I would imagine.
This is where all the wedding photos are taken, is on the front steps of this place, or in the front lawn.
Yeah.
I mean, can't argue with that. It is a gorgeous building. I mean, look at it.
Yeah. 1880s.
It's unbelievable. It's really, really nice.
Yeah.
I wonder what that roof and all that is. If that's copper, it looks like it could be copper.
It's definitely metallic. I have a couple different shades here. This is strange. Check this out. All of a sudden, it's white.
What the Sam Steel is that?
Isn't that
I
strange?
mean, yeah, there's snow, but it's not good though. It's not just the roof is going to be covered in snow like that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's strange. I can't really date the photograph. I can't tell if maybe it's a little older than this. Looks newer, like a newer photograph. So I don't know if this was
It does.
reskinned or
actually the one you were just on is newer because it's got a wheelchair accessible ramp.
Yeah.
So this would be older.
Covers up the arches.
Still like you're on your own, wheelchair guy.
Yeah. Take a look at the stones, the size of the stones down here below as well. 1880s, remember?
Yeah, right around those buried arched windows.
Yeah. You can see them here, but they're kind of covered up by the ramp, and then this one looks like it's blocked up at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Neat looking building, though. Beauty. It's a beauty. And
with the little bijou balconies, and then you've got a balcony above the main door there on that whatever you call those structures, that's sort of an overhang over the main door.
Yeah, like an awning of some sort, maybe. This is probably the reason it's the capital, because it has this structure. Is what I would say.
They found this and they said, okay, this is pretty sweet. We'll make this place the capital. Let's fix her up.
Yeah.
And of course, you're in Canada because of our inferiority complex. On the cupola, you have a cupola with a dome, and then a tiny cupola with a tiny dome on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm guessing this is old Queen Vic here on the front and center.
Oh, for sure, that's Queen Victoria. Absolutely.
Yeah. She just claims ownership of everything. Trying to get a closer look. Still can't really tell, but yeah, probably.
That's weird that's all white like that.
It is, yeah, because it's the exact same material. Doesn't look like it looks like exactly the same otherwise. You got the ridges. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, it can't be snow. I know you see snow here, but
no, it's not snow. Not in all the little nooks and crannies and crevices like that.
No chance. Yeah.
No, it's paint or renovations they're doing, or I don't know. It looks ridiculous compared to the other photo, though.
Somebody thinks the white might be Photoshop in the chat. I don't know. Maybe not. Anyway, let's move on.
We're saying new paint job.
Could
Photoshop.
Be new.
Yeah, who knows?
Let's look at this one. This is the Provincial Exhibition Palace.
Oh, that's right. They had a Dominion exhibition in Fredericton, didn't they?
Sure
Basically,
did.
Canada's version of World Fairs.
Yeah, they were all under the banner of the Dominion, weren't they? They used that word a lot.
Yeah, there was a couple in Montreal. There was one in Brandon. There was a couple in Toronto. I believe Hamilton, Winnipeg,
Yeah.
Vancouver, Calgary. And then, of course, these were all built temporary, and then we just knocked them down after the exhibition was over.
Not to be confused with the Dominion voting machines. Not to be confused.
Yes.
This one's a stunner, though. 1864. Give me a break.
I mean, it's obvious. I don't mean I was staring at them, but I can't exactly control which direction my eyes go in all the time.
All right. I do have a photo of this one, actually. Let's hop over to that. There it is. I know the suspense is killing a few people in the chat there. Now,
it's exquisite, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, we have a serious inconsistency here between the quality of fence work and surrounding outbuildings.
Yes.
And the quality of the palace, the 1864 palace. Take a look at this.
I know. Even the little crappy hitch your horse up to the fence right in front of the palace, right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, yieldy ladder lean there on the side of the building.
I know what happened. The pros, the masters, had to leave before they could finish the surrounding area. So they had to.
Yes, they left it up to the unskilled labor.
That's right.
And that's the best they could do.
Yeah. This one, even here, just on the edge of the photograph, that's what you'd expect right there.
Yeah.
You know, but that is sticking out like a sore thumb. You could look a half circle window. Come on. It's ridiculous.
It almost looks cathedral-esque.
Yeah, there's a bit of that.
If you were to say to me, this is a church in Russia somewhere, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, maybe if the dome was a little bit rounder.
A little more oniony.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Here's a construction photo.
Of course it is.
I love that they have the fence protecting the public, though, from the construction going on.
Look out. This project is huge and dangerous.
So they turned this into this. Okay. I guess I believe you.
Right.
Oh, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. I'm not saying they're faking photographs, but I think they're faking photographs.
Either that or it's real scaffolding and they're dumbing it down and somebody's taken a photo and they've labeled it as a construction photo.
They're actually taking it down instead of...
But they're deconstructing certain elements of it that are becoming harder and harder to explain.
So there was no fire. Maybe they just dismantled it and took some... Maybe.
Who knows? Or it could be both.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a fire, whether it was on purpose or not, and they used that as an excuse to, now it's been condemned because of the fire damage, so now we got to take it down. So they're disassembling it, and they label it as a construction photo.
Nice looking place. I was surprised to find this one, actually. Exhibition Palace, Provincial Exhibition Palace. It's supposed to be the interior.
You should see the one that's in tiny Brandon, Manitoba that still stands.
Yeah.
It's very similar to this, just not quite as large and not quite as fancy, but very similar with the domes and the big arch windows and that big semicircular window. But look at the interior of this place, man. They're not playing.
You think that's Queen Victoria back in her younger days?
I can fly. It's what's her name from Titanic.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Leo's going to come up behind her, and I'm the king of the world, y'all.
Yeah. 5,000 people living there at the time, let's just guess. And They're managed to muster this thing up among the other things that were also being built.
And not only that, they've got to come up with the dollar bills to be able to host the Dominion exhibition in their city.
Yeah.
It's not like the federal government just came along and said, hey, you want to host this thing? And they were like, oh, for sure, bud. And they're like, all right, we'll flip the bill too. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Built before Confederation. 1864.
So they weren't even part of there wasn't, well, no, I guess technically Canada was called the Dominion of Canada because we were part of the the Dominion of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
So they're getting off on a technicality on that one, I think.
You're looking at, you would need more wood to scaffold this place to finish it than you would to actually build if you're building it out of wood.
Yeah, I know, right? That's the craziest part.
And I don't
wood used in the scaffolding than in the interior finishings.
I really don't think you're using wood for these posts, to be honest with you. I wish we could get a better look at it, but it doesn't look right to me, the way that this post sits. And then you have this capital that kind of is narrower and then carrying the weight from above, carrying the arch across the roof. Structurally, it doesn't make sense to have these just poles of wood. I don't
think so. Dragon Sage is in the chat right now. He says he's in Moncton, New Brunswick right now.
Okay.
Howdy.
Not far away.
Easy to heat that place in Canada. Oh, yeah, you got that right. That's a good point, Corky. It might be cast iron. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Or steel. Sure. Or steel.
Yeah. But reason I say that because the way they're depicting it here, like they're making it look like it's all sticks.
Yeah, they're making it look. It's to follow the same as the World's Fairs narratives.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just made out of lath and plaster, temporary buildings just for the fair. And once it's over, done with, we knock it down. We just didn't get a chance on this one because it burned it down, so we didn't get a chance to knock it down.
It seems like no matter where we look, we find fires and fairs. Fires and fairs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's that normal school, same one. There's the build date. I did find it. And it apparently burned in 1929. Not all of it, mind you, because we saw modern day photographs of it. So there's the fire. 1929.
At least the fire department's out there fighting this one.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving people a chance to just stand around and point and laugh, apparently. So that's good.
Well, they did save it, and that's what it looks like now. So you can see the lower part, the original portion down here.
Yes. There you go. Okay.
And the arch windows, switching to rectangular windows above.
Yeah, because we can't be bothered, or we don't know how, or it's too much time or money or materials now to do it.
Yeah. In the 1870s, it wasn't a problem, but
no.
When they rebuilt it in the 30s, or whenever that was, probably the 30s, that the fire was in 29.
No.
Yeah. So,
wait, was there a depression in the 1870s or 1880s anyways, though, too? When was that one?
Well, there's a bunch. Almost every decade there was a big depression. 1893 was a big one.
Okay. There you go.
There was a bunch. That's another thing too. If you look up like financial depressions, or it just pop up regularly, just like the fires. Every 10, 15 years is something to reset the financial situation of the people. These things are on a loop. All of these things seem to be on a loop.
Scott Baker says he went to a school that in elementary there, they still use coal to heat it in the winter. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a coal-fired boiler or coal heating system.
Yeah.
Either way, that's a huge expense. Plus, you got to get the coal delivered. It's not like the principal's just going to go to the coal store and throw it in the trunk of his car and take it to the school.
Yeah.
Shovel it into the basement.
Yeah, lots of kids here, though. The old normal school, 1876. All right.
It's probably every kid in town just there for the photo.
Yeah. Here's that front area with the fountain again, right? A Phoenix Square, I believe.
Phoenix Square, yeah. See, it's a beautiful public gathering area. So they have an open market at this square. See, that's the idea, man. That's cool. I wish we still did this today.
Yeah, that's the preferred mode of transportation at the time. And you're getting a sense of the structures. Of course, you never really see these bricks half built. You never see any photographs. It's always some sort of stick frame if you get a construction photo, but you don't really get the problem with this. And the reason why a lot of people got into this area of research is because the construction photos are insufficient for a lot of the buildings that we see. You know, something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. There it is again. There's a nice look at that square. Looking quite empty.
The fountain is encroaching into the street a bit, so the street looks like it was put in after the fountain. The fountain was there before the street was.
Yeah, that's interesting. That kind of butts out.
I mean, you wouldn't build like that, would you? Come on, it's coming across the sidewalk. On the other side of that intersection is that nice big promenade sidewalk.
Yeah, and you've got like a walkway, and it looks like a ditch here. Like underneath that.
Well, yeah, what the heck is going on? What in the Sam Steele's happening here with this thing?
Like a little bridge to get up to the fountain. It's interesting.
I do see that though, Corky. Yeah, the trees are smaller in this photo. Yeah.
So this is early. This is an early photograph. Do I have a date on it? I don't. But
it's obviously an earlier photograph. And trees, you know, with our long winters, they stay dormant. It takes a long time for trees to grow really, really big in the colder parts of Canada. You know, southern Ontario or in, you know, central and southern BC or along the west coast of BC, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
But when you get where there's a lot of snow and it gets really cold, like the Atlantic coast or out here in the prairies, I mean, it takes a tree a good couple of 100 years to get big enough around where, you know, it takes three or four people to join hands to encircle the tree, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is an interesting one too. Even the dirt, the way it's sort of just feeling like new or like hasn't quite been dusted off yet. This area, that's what it feels like to me. I don't know.
Tina's wondering if maybe there used to be a canal there.
Yeah, I don't know.
And Norm's saying that area floods a lot today. He's our local expert here. So yeah, see, there you go. There could be something.
Yeah, nice spot. Anyway, nice spot. You know what? If I was standing outside here with you, Frankie, I would probably bum a cigarette off you.
There you go.
By the fountain.
I don't know if
even though I couldn't. Yeah, you probably wouldn't. You tight bastard.
I'm just trying to help you, my man. I'm just trying to help you.
Fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. We saw this one earlier. This was the best I could do. 1876 again, same year as the normal school and the city hall. They're building. This was the wholesale we saw earlier in the birds.
Yes, that's right. Look at how fancy the roof is on that, with all the doohickeys popping out of it and the tower on the corner, and
right.
Holy moly!
Oh,
not to mention just dormers. Like, you're in construction. Are dormers like you could just whip those up in a couple hours, or are they kind of a pain because of all the angles and stuff?
What do you think? Why do you think we don't do it in the modern day? Right.
I mean, I'm not a roofer by trade, but I could tell you that it seems to me like a lot of extra bother for a small population that's just trying to scratch out a start here, you know?
You know, and it's not just the roofing material, the flashing too. You need like lead flashing, step flashing every row to make sure that the water's not getting in from the roof into the dormer. Like, it's just so much involved.
Yeah, anytime there's complicated angles like that, you got to think of water egressing into there somehow.
Oh yeah.
And then of course, once that water gets in and winter hits, it's water expands when it freezes, so that it makes the problem worse and worse year by year.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't just whip in those dormers as an afterthought.
No. 1876 was a busy year in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
They were giving her butt.
Oh yeah. They were wondering why they were going so high. Why are we going 3-4 stories high? There's only 5,000 people living here, and there's tons of space.
They knew people were getting ready to come, I guess.
It took them a while.
A lot of folks showing up here. We better make these big and the streets wide now.
They never did, though.
Later.
They're not even 100,000 in the modern day. That's what
I know. You build it, they will come. Not in Fredericton, I guess. Sorry
Yeah.
about that, eh?
There it is, still standing. Oh, that's a looker.
It is a beauty with all that brickwork and then all those keystones in the arched windows.
Yeah. They don't make wholesalers. These have been flattened off and modernized. You can tell
Yeah, they're
here.
fugly now.
That's still nice.
You can see the portal dormer there on that tower is really nice. It looks much different than the rectangular junk.
Sure does. And yeah, that's and look at the brickwork on here. 1876. They're telling us this was all the amount of brickies that would have been living in Fredericton in 1876.
A lot of Giuseppe's stacking a brick there.
That's right. Yeah. All right, coming to the end of the file. Couple left. Just a quick look at the university. I probably could have dug a little further into the university, but look at the date on this one. Early on, too, right alongside the government house. So they like to do this. They clump these buildings into the same years, like they were being built at the same time. Like that's going to be a way to explain it away, right?
Yeah, but logically it would make it hard to explain because it's like, well, wait a second, you're telling me that they built this huge stone building with all these fancy embellishments and all those angles on the roof line at the same time as that other building, and then but they say, well, yeah. I mean, the crews were already here working, so, and the other one's just down the street or whatever. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's ridiculous to me to even propose that sort of thing.
As a tradesman, if you got multiple jobs going on in the same location at the same time, you have your pick of the litter, and you are likely to bounce back and forth to whoever's paying you more and treating you better, it seems to be, right?
I think more than likely what it is this building and that building look similar enough so we can just say that they were built at the same time because they look similar in their, the materials used.
You might be onto something there.
So we'll lump all of these together because they're stone. We'll lump all the brick ones together because they're brick. And it's two different building times. Separated by 80 or 100 years or whatever.
Yeah. So this one's 200 years old according to our narrative. Interesting looking dome structure on that. Excuse me. There's the whole building in the modern day. Unique, actually, a little bit. This one.
Yeah, it's the roof line on it with that sort of domed. It's elongated though. At the top, it's flat, and then it extends to the back of the building, and then maybe it's domed at the back as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. King's College, I guess is what it's called.
It's lovely.
All right, just another street scene for you before we sign off here on our tour of Fredericton. There's the ditch action going on again with the ropes, and I wonder often what's going on with the streets back at these early times. A lot of dirt. A lot of well-built structures with basements and just a lot of dirt out front.
Yeah, it's the juxtaposition is a head scratcher. It's gobsmacking because you're like, well, wait a second. Wouldn't you want some good, solid, firm ground as your base or your not only your streets, but access to the buildings while the buildings are being constructed? I mean, you would think that you would take care of the roads first to make it easier to bring in all the materials. Wouldn't it be easier to have a cobblestone or a brick street or a paved street in some way to bring the materials in, especially if it's been raining or it's spring, so it's all muddy, and you got these horses trying to pull all these materials to the job site, pre-train to the job site in all this muck. Even if you got a team of 6 mules, I mean, they can only pull so much. What are these construction companies that haul all this material? Did they have like 30 or 40 flatbed carts being pulled by
continually
40 teams of 6 mules?
Yeah,
I mean, that's hundreds of mules and hundreds of men.
It's a lot of water for the horses and food for the horses and staples.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah. All right, this is the last one I have. Windsor Hotel here. Nice little turret on the corner. I figured I'd throw it in there.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that'd be a nice room to book in the Windsor Hotel, I would think. A little turret on the corner.
Whether you find those turrets on a private residence, a hotel, a government building, a school, I really like the aesthetic of that. Yes, it's very castle-like, of course, but I don't know. There's just something very appealing about the curvature and the conical dome. It's just very appealing. I hazard to think as to why we no longer do that, just in terms of aesthetics. Like, sure, we hear it explained away all the time. Well, it's not practical anymore, or it's fallen out of fashion, or it's not economically viable, or it's too time consuming, or taste change, like all of these explanations. But I mean, why is it that the most shoppable parts of town, the most touristy, trappy parts of any city or town is always generally always the old town that has these kinds of buildings? Because I think even on a subconscious level, most NPCs even find it aesthetically pleasing to the eye to be surrounded by buildings that have this type of character to them, as opposed to being in a modern downtown with just concrete and glass rectangles everywhere you look. I don't know, call me crazy.
No, I agree. It's something that triggers your memory. You go to a town or a city you've never been to before, and you come across one of these buildings with a turret. It sticks in your mind after you leave. You'll still remember it. It's the shape itself has some sort of resonance, I think, too. Yeah, it's interesting. But that's the end of my presentation for Fredericton.
Boots and buildings. We suck at everything else that's norm over in New Brunswick. Corky says the dudes have Tommy guns. Can you zoom in on some of those dudes? Do they really have Tommy guns?
Hard to say. Yeah,
it almost looks like that dude and that dude might. Those two dudes there.
Yeah,
maybe that third guy.
Right. It is the era.
They definitely look like they're up to no good. Anyway, just loitering around in front of the hotel there.
Well, they're making sure they don't demolish the old Windsor. That's what it is. They're protecting the old Windsor.
They've got to protect their turf, the old Windsor Hotel. That was fantastic.
Yeah, interesting stuff, eh?
Yeah. It's, you know what? I know we sound like broken records because I think we say it after almost every show. It's like, it's pretty surprising what you found there. And I wasn't expecting to see that much. Not to dismiss or make fun of Fredericton. It's beautiful there. It's absolutely beautiful. You're talking to a couple of Canadians, so we're of course going to be pumping out the, rah rah sis boom bah Canada. It's sort of my content, especially, is pretty much 90% Canadian content driven. Yeah, but
that's the purpose of our show, is to sort of get together and try to highlight that this is also in Canadian locations, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's again, I'm pretty surprised at what you found there. I was expecting, they might find, 24 or maybe 30, but there was quite a few exquisite built, and the ones that were exquisite were really exquisite.
Yeah, like very high
top
level
shelf stuff. Like a lot of them were 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
creeping out of 10 out of 10 on some of these with their embellishments and their just the overall aesthetic beauty of them.
Especially with 5,000-6,000 people living there. It's like you're managed to knock this stuff out. Come on now.
Yeah. And again, it's like, well, who built them? Because you would have to say, okay, even if you say a third of the population were men, the other third were women, and the other third were children.
Yeah.
But you got to think, in a city or a town of 5,000 to 7,000 people, let's say 6,000. So a third is what, 2,000?
Yeah.
Well, not all 2,000 are construction workers.
Yeah.
So I don't know, a couple of hundred are construction workers, and then say, well, then they brought in skilled trades from other, they brought in labor from other towns and cities nearby to work. Yeah, but other towns and cities were building stuff all in these same time periods as well.
Yeah, I bet you more.
If we went to St. John or Moncton, which is close by, they would have buildings that look similar that were built in the same time period. So you can't say, well, workers came from Moncton down to Fredericton to help build these structures.
Yeah,
because that dog don't hunt either.
You'd need just as many people to take care of the horses as you would to be building the structures.
Yeah, like every construction company or every contractor or subcontractor back then, pre petrol or internal combustion engine or even pre-steam engine, so pre-train, every construction company would have to have horse stables.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So if you own, Chris's Construction back in 1850, I mean, to haul the materials back and forth from the job site, you would need horses and wagons. And so where are you getting the horses?
Yeah.
They're probably your horses. So you probably had to have stables at your construction office. It's things that we don't think about.
You need oats and hay, and
you need water and straw or hay and oats and alfalfa, and you need a
keep them healthy.
Couple of stable hands to keep an eye on everything. You're not just gonna put the horses in the stable and then go and work on a construction site for 12 hours and then come back, grab your horse and go. You know what?
It gets silly.
The logistics of everything when you start boiling it down. And again, taking into account Canada, the cold weather. So you're probably only building from May until October, until you get to a certain point where it's enclosed enough where you can start building year round on interiors and that sort of thing.
Well, then how are you lighting and heating the space on the interior while you're working on it, right? And those are things to think about too.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to have temporary arc lights, I guess.
Yeah.
Which do actually shine quite a bit of light. The old school arc lights were very, very. The lumens on those things were crazy.
Yeah. But I'm sure a fire hazard.
Yeah, you look out now. You might want to you might accidentally burn your city hall down 3 times.
That's right.
from the heat of the arc lights. And watch out for them giant frogs too.
Yeah, that's right.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, I had fun.
Great folder on that one. Again, quite a few surprises for such a small, far-flung place there in the Maritimes.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting ready to wind this thing down here fairly quickly. Thank you. There's still just over 80 of you between the 2 channels watching. So thank you very much once again, everybody. Please make sure you subscribe to both of our channels if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And, do all the other YouTube things just to kind of help a couple of crazy knuckleheads out there in YouTube land and over on BitChute as well.
We're up against it with all the AI content out there. I'll tell you, we're up against it.
See, I think Ryan's got it figured out. They didn't use horses. They had their giant frogs pulling everything around. And they had frog stables.
They could hop to multiple stories, those giant frogs.
Yeah, man. Those things, a frog can pull a lot of stuff. They're like spiders. They can haul 3 times their body weights. How far do you think a 40-pound bullfrog can jump is the real question of the day.
Good question. I'll ask my kids once we sign off.
Yeah, there you go. Let them work on that one.
Yeah, homework.
So thank you, everybody. If you have any recommendations for an upcoming topic for the Knuckleheads, a place that you'd like us to visit in Canada that we haven't done yet, if you check on both of our channels, we do have Knuckleheads playlists, so you can see where we've already visited. Or if you have a sort of Canadiana topic, because we've covered that as well, where we've covered railroad hotels in Canada. Yep. So we've kind of gone coast to coast with that topic. So anything like that, let us know. Leave us a comment or shoot either one of us an email.
We could always go overseas next time too. We did a road trip to Glasgow once.
That's right. We went to Glasgow. Aye. Certainly went to Glasgow.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap!
So yeah, let us know. Leave us a comment or shoot us a line and let us know if you've got any interesting ideas. And yeah, certainly open to another Knuckleheads road trip somewhere. Who knows where we'll end up.
Yeah.
So anything coming up for you? Projects on your channel coming up, Chris? You do a upload every Friday.
Yep. I got one coming up will be on Brooklyn, actually. Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. This is a Brooklyn accent.
Yeah, lots of juice on that one. It was pretty easy to dig up some good stuff there. And nothing. You know what? I mentioned to you earlier, I'm thinking of, as the summer approaches, getting a Rumble podcast going, like a conversation-based podcast, bringing guests on. Not so much sharing. Well, sharing visuals is always going to be a part of it, but to try to get a couple different personalities in that are getting into the old world, because there's quite a few people out there now. You see them on TikTok, you see them on Instagram, or whatever your platform of choice is, and they're just sort of dipping their toes in the waters of Tartaria and the old world. So I'll see if I can maybe explore that a little bit more as we move forward. That'll be strictly on Rumble, though, for the sake of speaking freely, which
it would be a Rumble only podcast or live stream.
Yeah, so I'm going to explore that, and hopefully by the end of summer I've got some content on there, and I can get the ball rolling on that. And that's kind of what I'm thinking.
It's a good idea. I think I'm going to copycat you and do those as well. Do like a Rumble only sort of free form discussion.
Yeah, you can use all sorts of F words, and
you could speak a little bit more freely over there, it seems, for some reason, for whatever reason.
We are in Canada, though, and
It's the Wild West over there on Rumble.
You gotta watch it these days.
That's true, but at least the RCMP aren't kicking in your door and arresting you for something you posted online here yet.
Not yet.
It's happening in Britain, though, in England.
Yeah. No, I've
Somebody's
heard.
posted something a little racy on Facebook, and the next thing you know, the constabulary is knocking at your door.
A serious crime.
Right, coming with us now, Governor. Posting that online, are we?
How dare
That's
you?
naughty. Right, off you go then. Seems ridiculous.
It's funny, but it's not funny, I suppose.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. It's funny, but not funny. So yeah, every Friday, watch for Chris Old World Exploration with his deep dives, and of course, check out his books. Links for where you can find those. 3 books plus a co-authored another book, didn't you?
Yeah, that's on there too. You can find it. Yeah.
Fantastic. And over on my channel, every Wednesday, vintage footage video, old-timey video set to music. Friday, boots on the ground, and then I host my own Sunday live show every Sunday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So thank you, everybody, once again. Really appreciate everyone's support. This is always a good time. We always have a lot of fun getting together.
Yeah.
And you guys in the chat, in both chats, you guys
very much appreciate you guys. Yeah.
Very intelligent, great sense of humor, lots of great information. And it's fantastic to have a local in the chat here tonight. That was really, really great. Very informative.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to get a real-time local perspective on some of the things that we talk about here on the channels with the show. So that's great.
Look at that last comment. Sorry, look at the last comment there. I like that one.
Opposite of brain rot, you guys rock. Is that the one?
I'll take that. I'll take that as a compliment.
That's pretty good.
Sorry.
Dragon Sage is saying, do an old-time hockey episode. Oh. Now that's interesting, because we could get into the Mi'kmaq, who made the first hockey sticks.
Yeah. We
could look at old-timey hockey arenas that were probably, who knows, old dirigible air hangars that were converted into hockey arenas.
Possibly.
It's not a bad idea, Sage.
Something to think about.
Definitely put a pin in that and readdress that for sure. Yeah, old rinks. Yeah, very nice. All right, so I think that is going to do it. So thanks again, everyone. Don't forget all the links below and do all the other YouTube things. And we'll see you all on the next Knuckleheads episode.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone.
I'm in love with the old world. 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 Love your old world ways.
I think that was like our best show ever.